Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with and talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
The second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. We've got Devin Borden with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
What's going on? Happy Monday, August 12th, 2024. I am Jimmy here with Chris and Jay-Z. Look like he just got in the background. Hey, Jay-Z. We are the Turn 2 Terribles. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us this week. We got a great show for you planned tonight. We got winner from Clinton County this past Saturday night. Second one of the year. Garrett Bard will be joining us. We'll also recap Clinton County as all three of us were there. And we will also talk about the Knoxville Nationals and preview the week ahead. Chris, Jay-Z, how are you guys doing tonight?
Happy to be here. Ready? I'm here. Make sure Randy sees me live and breathing.
Randy says, "Good evening, Jay-Z, Jimmy, and the other guy who used to be on Rollin'."
Rollin', Trent Yoder, win number 8. I have a shirt on. Be there
Brad,
Thursday night.
Brad Weatherby, what's up, y'all? Santos, thanks for checking in, man. As always, thanks everybody so much. We got our regulars in here as always. It's always much appreciated. We love seeing you guys pop up in the chat and talk to us. And those of you listening to the next day, the audio version of the podcast, we thank you guys too. We see you guys. We do, and we appreciate everybody checking us out and letting everybody know about the podcast. So let's get into it. Let's bring in our guest of this evening, Garrett Bard. Garrett, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Hey, congratulations, first of all. What a win, right? It's funny. These guys don't know this, Jimmy and Chris, but I walked up to Garrett in Victory Lane before the night was going, and I walked up and said, "Hey, you got a big target on your back. I don't know if you know that." This is before the night really got started. I don't even think you were out for heat and motor heat yet. So, man, you did and pulled through again. So we're going to get to this year and kind of the way this year has gone for you. But I do want to go backwards a little for maybe some folks don't know your background or I don't even know your background before 305. So that's where you kind of came on the scene with me, buddy, my buddy Kyle Keen, and you guys raced together a little. So that was sort of your I think your big breakout year in 305s, man. You won everything that year, I think. pretty sure. I think you even won a foot race that year, if I recall. No, I'm just kidding. But tell me a little bit about your background, your family's background in racing, and kind of where you got to where you're at today.
I started racing quarter midgets when I was 5. I ran those for about 7 years. Had to take a couple years off for the project my dad was working on at his where he works, and we had to end up taking about 2 years off for that project. At the conclusion of that, we got in the 600s. We ran 600s from about 2012 to the middle of 2019, which then we got into the 305. And then we ran those the remainder of 19, and then 20, 21, 22. And then last year we jumped into the 410, and then ran the 410 obviously last year and then this year.
So I kind of want to go back to your 305 career a little bit, and pretty massive success. So I don't have the statistics in front of me. We're not a group that looks up a bunch of stuff about your background and then comes in here with preloaded questions. So tell me a little bit about your 305 when you jumped into that and had pretty quick success, and then quite a bit of success before going to the 410. So what was that experience like? Because that's a very competitive division.
Yeah, I mean, our first couple of races, the PA Sprint Series, they have that rule where your first 3 races you have to start in the back of your heats and features if you make them. So we went through that, and then my very first time at Port Royal, I'd actually never even watched the race there. I've seen them on YouTube and everything, online. We went there as our 4th race, and I didn't have to do the handicap, but I kind of handicapped myself by drawing the worst pill. And then we ended up getting second in the heat, and then went out in the feature and won our first race there at Port. And then I don't know if it was just kind of one of those things that I knew at that point, like, hey, I can actually win this. And then just from then on, we just went on a tear for the rest of 19, started winning a couple other tracks, and then in 20 we just kind of went all out, went to race everywhere we could, and by the end of 20 we were sitting there as the national champion of the 305. So that was really cool for us.
So I can't believe you just said what you said, and that's real. You go to Port Royal, never raced there, never ran a lap there, watch YouTube videos, and you go win a 305 race. And every time I've been to Port Royal and 305s are there, there's 13 or 14 million of them there. So that's not any easy feat to handicap yourself in the heat, get through there to second. How the hell did y'all know what to do with the car? Who helped you out? Where was the experience? How did you even know what to do to make the car turn left at the end of the straightaway going there for the first time? I mean, what notebook did you have, or what helper did you have at that time?
When we first got in the 305s, we had Roger Watkins and then Terry Strait. A lot of people knew him by Tweety. They helped us out a lot when we first started in 305. So our first couple, really, for our whole first year, and then most of 20, they helped us almost every week. So we had a lot of help to get started and to figure out what we wanted to do with the car and everything. So I mean, that was pretty much our help. And then both of them, well, obviously, Tweety passed away there due to COVID and everything, which was very unfortunate and everything. And then Roger, he wanted to spend a lot of time with his family then after that. So after that, we kind of, Dad and I went on our own. But we had a very good base to start with and everything. And then we started tweaking from there on everything we wanted to do.
So you make the announcement to go to the 410s and come out that first season. And, I don't think anybody in central Pennsylvania said, man, Garrett Bard going to the 410s, he's going to win 15 races, right? Nobody does that like ever, let alone that. So where were your expectations with your team, your family experience? You're a young guy. What were your expectations as you went into the 410? Make all the laps, win races, kind of where did you set that when you first got to it?
I don't really think we had any superstar expectations. I think we just wanted to, get experience, get comfortable with the car. Obviously, the goal for us, I think, would have been maybe get a couple top 10s, which we did end up doing. So we did achieve them. So we didn't have any great big aspirations to try to accomplish. I know you look at anybody that gets into a 410, they're not going to, like you said, go out there and win right away. It's a world of difference, even from the 305 to the 410, just the difference to adjust to it and everything.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's not just adjusted that for you getting that experience, but also the adjustments on the cars, right? From the PA Sprint Series, it's very limited adjustments, and the box is pretty small what you play in. You go to the 410, and you have sort of not an open book. I mean, there's a rule book and things, but I would imagine the amount of things that you can get right and wrong expand quite a bit in the 410. Would that be right?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to limit what we could do. So we actually took our car that we ran the 305s with in 22 and put the 410 in that exact frame and everything because we knew how it reacted, thinking that would help us. And, our first few races, we kept trying to do like what we would do on the 305. We learned quickly to just throw that complete notebook away. Like everything on the 410 was the polar opposite of what you would do on the 305.
So as you get through that year, and I know I took notice and see you, and you're a little faster, a little more comfortable. Obviously Port Royal, and now Clinton County. But what has that been like for you? What have you learned? Has it been a little bit of car stuff, more your experience? What has kind of gotten you to the point? Because this year, or was that late last year? When did you almost win Tyler Courtney? You were leading most of the race. Was
That
that
was
this season, right?
yeah, that was like May or something this year.
Yeah, you led most of the beginning of that race, and then it fell a little bit at the end, but that's a massive change, right? From like, hey, we don't know what the hell we're doing quite yet, to very competitive, very good times, some really good finishes. So, what was like? Was there a light bulb moment, or was it sort of like, hey, I just slowly picking away at both the car and yourself?
I mean, that night, the moisture in the track did help some. We've been struggling here with slick tracks, and then that's why here recently we made the change and actually put a whole new car together. And the first night we ran this new car was that race at Clinton there a couple weeks back. But we've been figuring out the changes that we need to make and not just kind of guessing at it more. So, I mean, we've been going in the right direction. It's just the car we were running, we just couldn't get it to react the way we wanted for my driving style and everything. So we put this new car together, and every time we've hit the track so far, it responds to every change we make in the way we want it to. So we really hope that this weekend, as long as it doesn't rain out, because it does kind of look like crap, that we get to go back to Port Royal, and then we're planning to do Sealands Grove and see how the car does on these big tracks again.
I'll never, and listen, we're dummies, so we don't know anything. But I'll never quite understand where you can have a car and you can sit two of these side by side on the floor, and you put it all together and you run one, it doesn't respond. You have the exact same manufacturer, you bought them together, whether you did or not, they're the same age, they're not wrecked, and the next one works. Why do you think that is? I mean, I'm not a metal guy, I don't know anything about that stuff, but do you have any opinion on why one car does and one car doesn't react?
Honestly, I don't. I know the car we were running, like I said, it was a 2017. So, and the one we were running at the beginning of this year was 23. So, I mean, you did have a 6-year gap. The process of how they made it could have changed some. So, I mean, you take two that are made right together and why they react different, I really don't know. I heard years ago that different brands, you'd have to buy 5 or 6 to get 2 good ones. I don't know if you still have that with everything. But
that'll be a mystery to me forever, that I'll never quite understand. You spend all that money for it. It sort of reminds me of the Hoosier thing. You pay all that money for a tire and it's supposed to be this, and it's not even close to what it says it is. I'll never quite understand how
Not
poor
consistent.
the inconsistency at a high level of that is. It's very niche product. It's very, a few manufacturers of it, and you would really think there would be a lot more consistency in that kind of stuff, but I'll never quite understand that, probably. So mainly senior Port Royal, Clinton County. You're talking about Sealands Grove a little bit. What, as you go through the rest of 2024, anything other than the Sealands Grove? Or are you looking to expand maybe next year, some more track styles, or you're kind of like, hey, I want to get really good here and then move forward?
I mean, for the rest of this year, we're looking at Port and Sealands Grove this weekend. Next weekend, I'm not really sure what it'll entail just yet because Port has the late models coming in. The following weekend, I think it's Port, Sealands Grove, and then like the Labor Day Classic, and then we got the Tusky coming up. Yeah. So that'll be most of the rest of our 24 season. We will try to get a couple races in September. It's just a lot of tracks are starting to end their schedules at the beginning of September. So we'll see what's racing and go from there. For 25, I'm not sure exactly what we'll plan yet. I don't know if we'll want to stick to one track or try to do some traveling to get some experience. I mean, when I say traveling, I don't mean like going out to Indiana or any of that stuff. I just mean hitting different local tracks in PA to gain different, like I said, experience in different style tracks and everything.
So let's talk about Clinton County, because this seems to be, Clinton County to me was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was a mystery to me because I've never been there, but every the last few years, there's guys that really rave about the place. And, some guys that don't always have that huge success. Other places go up there and had some really good runs, right? Chris Frank has very limited 410 experience, but goes up there and loves it. 358 guys, 305 guys love going up there, and they can have success. I mean, what this year, right? You hit on something and found something, obviously, because you have 2 wins at the same track against really good fields. Um, what I took notice to being at the track the other night was I could almost visibly tell who's ran laps there before and who hasn't. It seemed very, without me ever seeing the racetrack before, right? So, and I don't think I was perfect. If I had 10 guesses, I probably got 8 or 9 of them right. But it seemed very evident to me the people that were comfortable there and the people that weren't comfortable there or didn't have the experience. So, how many races have you ran in Clinton County before this season? I know it's a big 305 track, but my successes I've seen you has really mainly been at, Port, that 305 season. I'm sure you won other places, but how many races did you run at Clinton County before this season?
Actually, Clinton was my very first 305 race. We had won 2 track championships at Clinton. I don't remember if they were 20 and 21 or 21 and 22, but we used to run there almost every 305 race they had. That was probably the track that we probably beat our head against the most, trying to figure out how to get around there because of how slick it is. And I mean, we struggled for the good part of a year and a half, and then we finally started to figure it out. And we just progressively got better with 305. And then we went up there last year at the 410 and ended up 3rd and 5th with our 2 races. So it's just, I don't know, a track that I like. I feel like you have a lot of control. A lot of the control in the car is done by you. Your setup, you could be slightly off, and as long as you can keep the car under you, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I heard it, it gets slick and, a little dusty, but slick, but good racing. I wasn't prepared for how slow and slick it really was. I thought, it might slow down a little bit. I was very underprepared for how slow you guys really had to get the car to make it work and to make speed, which sounds insane, right? Slower to go faster. Um, but the one thing I noticed in the A main, and Jimmy and Chris are up next. I can't see comments anymore since we had to delete that one, so I don't know if there's any coming in. Um,
There
uh, but the one thing I really noticed that stuck out to me in the 410 A main, when you were kind of leading there, and once before lap traffic, right? You had to move around, do things, but you ran, a lane higher, half a lane higher, kind of up the banking just a touch, where Zane was on the bottom, and I noticed that momentum carry, like, have you found over time there, no matter what car you're in, that when it's slicked off like that, consistent from the inside to the outside, that half a lane, 3/4 of a lane, maybe 1 lane up, where that banking really kicks in? Can you feel that difference in the car? And do you feel more comfortable that way? Do you think that's like the line when it gets like that? I mean, what are your thoughts on because it seems simple, but yet technical.
I developed that back in the 600s. We used to have the 600. We'd take up the Clinton as well. And when that slicked off, we would just try to go higher than everybody just to keep more to keep more momentum in the car and everything to keep it straighter. And then we just carried it over to 305 and even in the 410. I mean, a lot of the guys, they tried going low and they were just, I don't know, they're scrubbing speed, trying to come off and get grip. And we were just trying to keep it straight to keep the car under me. And that's just the same mentality I've just carried with me all these years at Clinton County.
Yeah, it seemed that simple to me, but unless it just visually, that bottom must be that inviting to get down in there. That guys just run it down in there and feel like they'll be able to carry enough speed. But yeah, that stop and go, especially with a 410 under you just can't go again. You're spinning tires, and once it starts, it's hard to make it stop spinning tires. I saw more 305 guys have a little more success on the very bottom. They didn't seem like they had to scrub quite as much speed, and they also didn't accelerate as hard and burn the tires off. So I just found that to be super interesting, the difference in lines. And now Zane obviously is a very good race car driver, so he was able to make that bottom work some. But overall, I think your momentum, especially off four, is what I noticed was where I was standing. Really made a big difference for you to get down the straightaway and down into the next corner. So, Jimmy, Chris, what do you got?
Just a closing laps there at Clinton County. We were just kind of talking right before we came on. Those last 5 laps, how nerve wracking was it? Because you had two other guys within a half a second of you between Zane DeVault and Dominic Malaire, and you guys were in heavy lap traffic. Just what was going through your mind there at the end? And did you know they were close as they were?
I didn't know they were as close as they were to the white flag. When I saw the white flag, I could actually hear the car like right behind me. I don't know if Zane was really on it or what, but I could really hear him, and I knew right then that I almost had to make my car as wide as I could because I could not get through traffic. I try to go high, they go high that lap. I try to go low the next turn, they're going low. It's just it's almost like they had mirrors because I could not get through them. And I knew with probably about 6 to go, I tried to run more of a higher entry to come down to off the turn just to keep my momentum and everything, and to try to prevent them driving around me on the outside. But at the same time, I was trying not to just leave the whole track open. But yeah, with 1 to go, when I heard Zane, I knew that something was ready to. It was going to happen quickly, and then I saw him coming off 2 there, get to my outside, and we went in the 4. And I actually had a flashback to going into the turn 2 years ago. I gave up their great big Nittany 40 race by doing that. I really lifted going in the 3 because I didn't want to try to slide the leader. At the time, I was running second. So at that time, Saturday, I just stayed in and slid out. I fully anticipated to whack the wall and keep going, but fortunately, I didn't hit it. So we just hung on them.
And a question that I have about the track is, it's almost kind of like, for those who have never been there, it's kind of like almost like a Lernerville, where you don't have a wall all the way around. You have the top of the track, and then it just blends into like grass and woods. How hard is it to I mean, obviously you have a lot of laps around there, but how long does it take to realize where that edge is before you go over?
No, heck, I still don't know where it is. I go over regularly. And last year in 305s, I did that numerous times. But you can start to feel it as you get to the edge of it. 3 and 4 is harder to figure out where the edge is in 1 and 2, just because you can kind of see the wall in 1 and 2. I mean, I know it's not at the top of the track, but you can gauge where you're at. 3 and 4 is just really hard to tell where it's at, which I think is why you get 3 and 4 to have more moisture up top than you do in 1 and 2, just because the people won't chance it and they won't go up as high.
Yeah, I noticed 3 and 4, you guys definitely could drive harder. Definitely guys weren't as high, but it was also in shade a lot sooner. So I don't know if that mattered. Just sort of like Lincoln, where it's in shade really quick and it always holds the moisture longer than 1 and 2 that's in the sun. I just happened to notice that. I don't know if there's anything to that because it seemed pretty damn slick and dry after hot laps, but definitely could drive harder in 3 and 4 for sure.
This race Saturday was a lot slicker than the one we had 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
the ones 3 weeks ago, I could almost go wide open in the 3 and 4 because there was enough moisture to hold us. So
that makes sense. I saw the video of what was it, Mark Smith? I want to say he was wide open. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He was wide open in the corner there. It is what it is. But sorry, guys, go ahead.
Chris, you got it.
I just wanted to ask Garrett. So you said you struggled with the slick track package before, and you just won probably the slickest track that you've had ever. What changed?
Like I said, years of beating our head off the wall for that track to figure it out. But no, since we put this new car together, it's just reacting to everything where you want. It seems to be doing really good for us. So we actually took our feature setup from 2 weeks ago because we knew the track would be so slick. And we actually started with that for Saturday night and then just kept going further with that then.
Yeah.
Hit the fan questions?
Yeah. Randy Kopp asks, is Clinton County your favorite track to race at?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I like going to Clinton. I've always liked racing at Path Valley. I really like the bull rings, and Path Valley is generally pretty heavy, so you can really get up on the wheel. Port Royal is always fun. 305, that was probably one of my favorite tracks. Still isn't 410, but I don't know if I would say I have a favorite track.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Santos asks, how much mental toughness does it take to go from the success in 305s to learning the ropes in 410s?
Oh, that one took me a couple weeks to have to get adapted to. I mean, like you said, in the 305, we had a lot of success. We found victory lane pretty regularly. So to come out, I know last year in 23, it was probably, I want to say probably 3 of our first 5 races we didn't even qualify for. So for me, especially me, that was something I wasn't accustomed to. So it was just kind of have to get used to the fact that we weren't going to make every race like we were used to.
Randy Kopp asks, he has a couple of questions here. Number one, who builds your motors?
So our engine is actually owned by Roger and Marie McKeehan and Randy George. It's built by Troy Godfrey.
And then, are you over the shock of the cost to run a 410 compared to a 305? I hear, before you answer the question, I hear different things, because I hear a lot of people say it's almost, I mean, like the price difference between the 360 and 410 is like very minimal. And if you're going to run a 305, you're 3/4 of the way there for a 410. Is that kind of true?
I mean, you're talking the exact same car, the exact same parts, same wheels, same everything. I mean, the tires are different, but they're $20 each difference. And when you're talking the price of everything else, at that point, what's $20?
Yeah. And then he asked, what race would mean the most for you to win?
I mean, I'd love to say Knoxville Nationals, but to be realistic, for a local race, I just think it'd be pretty cool to win a race at Port Royal at this stage of our 410 career.
I don't think you're far from it.
No, I don't think so either.
So, really just watching your progression and the speed and confidence, and I think all of those things, right? The car, yourself, your confidence, your experience. I don't think you're far from it. And Port Royal is that place where it can happen, and you're like, wow, did that really happen? And it can just be that night, right? The perfect night. So, the question I ask every driver, and it's the first time we've had you on, right? I believe so.
Yes.
You got to name me 2 drivers, and this could be any division. You've been in a lot of divisions the last few years. A driver you love racing with. It's fun, great time. You enjoy it. And then somebody who's a pain in your ass. You don't have to like dislike them, but they're difficult to race around, hard to pass, race each other hard. They're just a pain in your butt. One of each.
I'm probably going to go back to the 305 days. Probably one of the best ones to race with. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Doug Dotson.
Oh yeah.
We could throw sliders at each other. We could race each other as hard as absolute could be, and we would never touch. If we did, we'd both come off the track and be completely fine with it. We knew it was a complete racing deal, but just how hard we could race each other and just come off the track and be completely fine with each other with no issues at all. So I'd probably say him. Biggest pain to race with. This one's no disrespect to him at all, but just how hard we would run each other. I'm probably going to say Tyler Walton back from 600 days. We never had issues. It was just always, we ran each other to the absolute hardest you could and pushed the cars to the hardest you could, just because we both wanted to win so bad.
Yeah, and I appreciate your answers to this, because it's different, right? Some of the people we've had on, been around 358s, 410s for a long time, sort of, but yeah, like the micro and the 305, kind of very interesting for sure. And the fact that Doug Dodson was your fun to race around makes a lot of sense. He's a lot of experience. He's seen it all, been around, had some great success, and I think that he's a guy that, yeah, sure, he wants to win every race, but I don't think he has to do it in any Austin Dillon type way, right? Like, just doesn't have to do those things. So that's super cool. That's a name that I didn't expect, but makes a lot of sense to me.
I just think at this
Chris,
point, I probably don't have enough 410 time to give like a 410 person.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Chris?
Chris's question was kind of taken
Yeah, it's kind of
Randy stole my question.
Yeah, he
a
did.
little bit. So, sorry, Chris, you're out. Jimmy.
Well, Santos here asked real quick, very off topic, but have you ever ran against Logan Spar?
Oh, I ran against Logan for years in the 600s, and then for a couple years in the 305s.
Who are a couple guys that you have an eye on in 305s? Maybe I don't know if you. I mean, I'm sure you still pay attention a little bit, but there's a couple guys that you think that you'll be seeing here in 410 soon that that maybe gave you fits in 305s.
Well, I've ran into Logan's parents before, and they've talked about him moving up, so I could see him moving up, maybe next year or the following year. I don't think Doug would want to move up again. I think he likes where he's at, enjoys the competitiveness of the 305s and everything. I'm sure there will be a couple more 305 people that'll want to move up in the next year or so. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you for coming on. We really congratulate you on winning Clinton County. It was a fun race to watch, and that's 2 this year. And like Jay-Z was saying too, I think you're not too far away from winning something at Port. Maybe hopefully if we could get this dream race in the Twin 25s this weekend, and maybe you could keep that momentum rolling. Before we let you go, who sponsors, team members, everybody, who do you want to give a shout out to, thanks to help you get to the track every weekend?
I mean, I got to thank my parents for everything they've done for me for the close to 20 years I've been racing. I got to thank Roger and Marie McKeon and Randy George for allowing me to run their engine for the past 2 years. Without them, I don't think we'd probably be in a 410, so I can't thank them enough. Tom and Tina Rigsby of Thompsontown Cornerstone Deli and Restaurant, they came on board this year. They've been a great big help. Mac McGee with Mac McGee Motorsports, the crew, which would be my girlfriend Sydney, her dad Greg, brother-in-law Tommy, and then just my uncle Terry and my other cousin Riley. So I just can't thank the crew enough for everything they do for us. And then I got to thank you guys for having me on and everything.
Yeah, man. Best of luck the rest of the season, and keep the thing upright. And I'm sure we'll see you in Victory Lane pretty soon. And hey, listen, best time of the year getting Victory Lane because you're going to probably win a lot of money at one of them. So good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Garrett. Garrett Bard, everybody. That was he was really fun to watch at Clinton County. Cool to see him win 2 of them here this year there, and like we said, I think he's pretty close at Port Royal. I almost forgot about the whole when he lost the Tyler Courtney thing, because I'm like, oh yeah, there was one he almost won, and that was it. It was when Tyler Courtney
he led up until maybe within 10 to go. I mean, he led the whole way there.
Yeah. So just good up and coming driver there. Let's go into our recap from the past week. We're going to start local. Let me pull this up. Rain for Lincoln. We had a lot of rain here this past week. We got hit with the remnants of Hurricane Debbie. And it was too wet to run at Lincoln on Saturday. I know there was a lot of people, down by the Harrisburg area. There was tornadoes and stuff like that. So I hope everybody that's watching stayed safe, didn't have too much damage. All that. So bummer to, but they just got like 4 or 5 inches of rain at the track. They just weren't able to get it ready in time on Saturday. So, that leads us to Clinton County on Saturday. That all of the local, attention went there. Lincoln wasn't running. I don't know how many cars they really would have had, probably like 20 to 24 or so. And then Clinton County ends up getting 44 cars from multiple states. You had Zane DeVault, who's actually from Indiana. I know he races mostly in Ohio. You had Greg Wilson from Ohio. You had Joe Cotta came from New York. A lot of guys from Western PA. And then obviously a lot of local guys. 44 cars. We got to go. And Jay-Z, it was your first time there. Your first impressions of that place?
It's badass. Like I kind of feel like an idiot. I mean, I should take your word for it better, but when Jimmy and Chris say something's really cool, I got to be like, really? Is it that cool? Because, you guys aren't that cool. But I definitely missed the mark on here and getting up there sooner. It is a hell of a long drive for me where I'm at and just making the time work. And my plan was to go there because I was already going to be in that area. Well, that got canceled, so I wasn't going to be in the area. Everything else canceled around here. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to see one, it's got to be this one. There's big money on the line. There's going to be a lot of cars. When people thought, 40 plus cars, I'm like, there's no way. What? Why? No. Guess what? There freaking was. There's 44 cars there, 305s, 358s. Hell, there might have been somebody with a 360. I don't even know.
Yeah, I think a couple were with the 360s. Yeah,
right. There may have been, and then obviously 410s. And you walk up to the track and you walk to the edge of it and just look at it and you're like, this is cool. I mean, it's a short track, but it still was 14, 15-second laps on a short track. So it didn't race like the banking would suggest it would race. Now, obviously, if it's heavy and these guys could rip around there, I'm sure really quick. But man, you just stand there and look at it and you're like, 1 and 2, they're both banked. There's a lip. It ledges off to the wall in 1 and 2. There's no wall in the backstretch, and there's just trees and there's mountain in the background, and it's just cool, man. What a facility for a racetrack. Now, it's not Port Royal facilities, and when I say that, I'm just saying like where it sits, where they have it, where the layout is, the shape of the track, the banking. Man, is it cool. It is just for like racetrack cool to me. And then I got on the racetrack and I was like, this is fun. Like I'm obviously brought my camera, I'm shooting, but I wanted to stand there and just kind of watch because I'm like, this is cool. Yeah, just a great experience all around.
Yeah, it's a cool place. It raced a lot different. Garrett even alluded to it. It raced totally different than it did a couple weeks ago. It got slick. It got really slow. And when that happens, it does get pretty bottom dominant, but you can move up a lane or two. And you could definitely tell, and you said this in the interview with Garrett, you could tell who hasn't ran there before. And there was 2 guys that really stood out to me, especially in time trials, that are good at Lincoln, Williams Grove, like everywhere else. Cam Smith and Dylan Norris, and they struggled because they were trying to rip the very, very tippy top and just stay pinned on it. And I think there were 305s that timed faster than them because it just wasn't the fast. It was cool. It was badass. They were running a cool line, but it wasn't the fast line. You really had to get it wound down and drive it like a true short track. And, that momentum just wasn't enough. It was too long around the top, but it was cool to watch. but yeah, there was 305s or 305 regulars that maybe put a 360 in or rented a 410 or something like that. Those guys were top of the board in their flights. Those guys were top 5. I think that 85 Josh Beamer, I think he's usually a 305 guy. I think he might have had a 360 in. He went quick time in his flight. And then you had Cam Smith, who was like last. I'm pretty sure he was last. And it was just crazy. It was just it's one of the charms of this track and these 410 races. It's because you get a mix of all these guys, and it gives these guys, maybe you could call them lower budget or whatever, because they have, they're 350, 358, 305, and it gives them a shot. A 410 just doesn't get you. You gotta have a lot of control, throttle control, car control, all that. And it makes for a very, very fun race and a very fun night. But yeah, Garrett Bard gets the win over Zane DeVault, Dominic Miller. As we talked about with Garrett, the last couple laps, Garrett pretty much, he led the entire way. But Zane was there, kind of in his footsteps. Dominic Miller was in a hell of a battle with Dale Blaney for about the first 20 laps. He got around him and then started catching those 2 guys as they were getting in lap traffic. And right at the line, it was within 0.4 of a second that those 3 guys came across the checkered flag. But Dale Blaney, Michael Bauer from Western PA, he was 5th. Tyler Ross, 6th. Davey Franick, 7th. Logan Rumsey, another good run there. He ran well there a couple weeks ago, got wrecked, but he was running probably 5th or 6th that race. He finishes 8th. Dan Shetler with an appearance there. I think he said, did he say it was like his first time there in like 15 years?
Something like that, yeah.
And then AJ Flick also made the tow to round out the top 10. TJ Stutz, Greg Wilson made the trip out. Mike Thompson, Dale Swikert's a regular there. Dylan Norris ended up finishing 15th, coming from the B main. JT Ferry, Jordan Givler with a good run. Tyler Rutherford in 358. Jake Waters, Derek Schwartz, Chris Smith, Owen Dim. And then at the back there, Josh Beamer and Billy Dietrich. That's the next point I want to get into. Billy Dietrich was overall quick time. That was something that was asked here by Randy. What happened to Billy? I saw he had fast time. I think him and Josh Beamer were running about 5th. They're battling for 5th. And me and Chris were sitting in turn 4. And it looked like Billy was coming out of turn 4, had a good run on him, and he was trying to cut underneath him down the front straightaway and just caught the 85's tail tank, got the 85 out of shape, hit, and they got together, and Billy flipped a few times coming down the front straight. It was a bummer because he was fast. He was coming. He might have had something for those top 3 or 4 guys for sure. But yeah, he had quick time. He looked pretty good all night until then. It was kind of a bummer to see that happen, but it was just hard. It's such a tight track, and you're trying to, to get a run, you really have to get some momentum out of the corner and then try to cross them up. That's how a lot of these passes happen. You have to cross them up real tight down the straightaway and dive underneath them, usually going into the corner. Chris, what'd you see from this race?
Just another fun race, and it's so interesting being at a place that doesn't have 410s week to week, and kind of seeing just how some of the fans are that might be their first time there. Some of these fans maybe not even seeing 410s before. The event's cool. It was the first time I was at the Phil Walter Classic. The last 2 times I was at Clinton County was just the other event.
Mm-hmm.
But just cool, just everything they have there with like the beers and for the drivers, like the Dale Blaney beer. It's just cool when you see these guys like AJ Flick come from Western PA to race over here. And have a shot. Like, Port Royal, you don't really think of AJ's admitted even to us. Like, they're not quite where they need to be at Port Royal wise, but there's a real shot he could have won.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how things went. So it's just cool just seeing those names, a bunch of new names, and seeing of our Billy going quick time. That's always cool. Big Billy Dietrich fan. So I had fun.
There's a lot of contingency money on the line too. There was money, obviously, quick time. It was $6,300 to win. That's a pretty decent payday, especially for a track that only has 2 410 races a year. There was money for hard charger. I think the first non-qualifier, the top finishing 305, the top finishing 358, the top finishing 360. There's a bunch of bonus money there. It was a lot of money on the line. It was cool to see a lot of people come out and support it. Not just fan-wise, but sponsors and just people putting in money to get these cars out there. And that's why they got 44 cars. And you got people that came from states over. It helps that, with Knoxville running that night, there's not a lot of stuff going on. But they're still racing. I mean, they raced Lernerville Friday night. I think that's where a couple of these guys came from. I'm pretty sure Greg Wilson ran there Friday. And then they went to Tri-City, I think, all on Sunday night. So they were kind of here in that area. But yes, Greg Wilson is from Ohio. He was kind of a shock. I didn't expect to see him there. But it was cool. It was just cool to see a lot of these guys come out. And, Owen Dim, he's a 305 driver. And Phil Walter found out when they were doing pill draws out on the front straightaway. Phil Walters actually is crew chief. So he ran at a 360 for this race, and he looked good. I can't remember what happened, but he finished towards the back. But he started up there in that top 12.
He got caught up in a wreck, and when they went to push him back off, I don't think that he was comfortable with the steering or something in the front suspension, so he pulled in the infield.
Bummer for not listed here. Looked pretty decent. Not as good as he did maybe the past couple times at Clinton County was Chris Frank. He was leading the B main, and then had one of the 2 B mains, and just had something break out of turn 4. He spun around, kept it going, and then spun it out again coming into turn 1, and something broke. Something on the rear end broke, and that ended his night. Unfortunately, he was running away with that B main. He would have been probably a good shot at the hard charger if he would have made the feature. Other thoughts from this race?
No, just super cool. I was very definitely happy to be there and experience it, and hope to get back again next year.
Steph says, "Great, another track we have to try now." Yeah, it's far out of the way, but it's definitely something. And the thing is that they race twice a year. It's Kings Royal and it's typically Kings Royal weekend and Knoxville Nationals weekend. So there's not a lot. It's most of the other tracks are dark. So, and actually, one cool thing about this event is they kind of do it like how Eldora does it, where I think the heat race winners, they drew numbers 1 through 4. Second place drew starting positions 5 through 8, and then third place drew 9 through 12. So they got all 12 drivers out there in the front stretch, signing hats, throwing them out in the crowd, talking to the crowd. It was pretty cool. It was a cool little event, and even the 4 cylinders there, man. I wish we would have stayed. If we didn't have the softball game the next day and everything, and get everybody home. Definitely would have stayed for the 4-cylinder feature because they're badass there too. Mandy says Billy might have been able to race for the win if that hadn't happened.
It's just me. Is Jimmy's mic break? Hey.
Just
is
you.
it just me or is Jimmy's mic breaking up?
Because just you. It's just you.
It's just you.
Yeah, you're laggy a little bit. I think you're back now though. Okay. Mandy also says, figured Lincoln would cancel. Lots of flooding in Abbottstown, East Berlin area. Tornado warnings in Hanover. Littlestown area too, Friday morning. Fuck Tropical Storm Debbie. Yeah. That is, it was pretty tough. I was a little surprised, but I mean, it looked like coming into the week that Central PA, like kind of up where Clinton County was and where I'm at, was going to get hit the hardest. Like we were going to get the most. And it wasn't really the case. They actually ended up I think by Friday 1:30 it was done raining and the sun had come out most of Friday afternoon, and it was a gorgeous Saturday and really helped kind of dry the track out. That I was kind of surprised to see Clinton County have to put water on it when we got there, but they didn't get as much rain as anticipated. So it ended up working out for them. They got a great crowd, great car count. Happy to see it. Yeah. Jay-Z, is everything better for you now?
Yeah, good enough.
Okay. Before we move on here, Santos says, I put it right before you guys talked with Garrett, but happy anniversary to Jay-Z. Hope you had an awesome day. Happy anniversary to you guys. I hope you guys had a great day as well.
Thanks, man.
Let's get to Knoxville. Kyle Larson. Leads all 50 laps again, 100 straight laps of the Knoxville Nationals you've led over the past 2 years. Jay-Z, you're echoing. Yeah, Chris, we got back to my place just in time to watch the end of this race. Well, not pretty much most of the feature, to be honest. Larson was good. Selzy looked good too. Corey Day had a good battle. Anthony Macri finished 5th. What were your observations from the whole week, I guess?
I mean, we talked last week about favorites and who to watch, and obviously Larson was in that group. And when he came out starting the pole, we kind of said on Friday, it's kind of his race to lose, especially the heater he's been on. I don't know. The week's always cool. I don't hate on the event, the racing, the track. It's a tough event, and the start in the top 16 there is already hard enough. When you get the best driver on the planet starting the pole, he's gonna be hard to pass.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll still enjoy the event. It was surprising, seemingly the struggles of David Gravel and Donnie Schatz, and a little bit of the luck that got Schatz to lock in on Friday there. But just an overall great event. I mean, looking at lists, you see the future. You know Gio's going to be a problem there in a good way for a lot of years moving forward. Corey Day, how many more does he get to run? We don't know. He goes NASCAR. But still, it's a guy.
Hot take. I think with Corey Day, I think obviously his path is probably NASCAR, right? I mean,
Right.
He's starting to run ARCA. I'm sure he probably already is starting to put together deals for next year. But
How many
I
more
would
chances?
Well, I don't know. He could be like a Kyle Larson type where he's still
If
running
he
a little
gets
bit of everything.
if he gets good
He's
enough,
that good. I think
but he's
he's
gonna
that
have to
good,
get
though.
good enough for a team to let him do that.
Sure.
And things
But
like
I think
that.
he
So,
definitely has. I mean, he almost the one ARCA race he ran here. I mean, he ran one asphalt late model race, right?
I understand
Goes and wins that. Goes and runs ARCA for the first time. He's running in the top 5 until he makes a common mistake, but just gets hooked a little bit in wrecks. But he's running top 5. Probably could win that race. First time in these things.
I understand. Jury's still out.
So I'm just saying, if there is a guy that has Kyle Larson type of talent that could do these type of things and go and run multiple things and still be in NASCAR, I think he would be a guy. So I think you're right. Yeah, maybe he only has a couple more shots at this thing, but he could be a guy that shows up every year and then goes and flies to you know what I mean? He could be that guy in the future.
For sure. And I think the story I know for me all week was obviously Darren Pittman, that 69K, how fast they were for their prelim night, getting start in the front row.
Him and Kyle Larson tied for top point.
Not the result I think they wanted, but I think they admit that's probably so above expectation. Really, now you start second, you don't want to finish 11th, but finishing there, I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of for a dude that's now ran 5 races this year, and a 410. So I don't know. I love the week. I love the event. It's just we need the best driver in the world to start the pole. He's going to lead a lot.
You talk about people that struggled all week. You know, David Gravel, Donnie Schatz. Donnie Schatz went from it's the first time he ever had to run Hard Knocks on Friday night. And he goes from in his heat. Now he went quick time, didn't he? So he missed the transfer in his heat by 1. So that would have put him on the pole of the B main that night. One card in front of him, I can't remember who it was, didn't go to the scales.
Jacked over.
Didn't go to the scales. So Donnie, he gets DQ'd. Donnie moves up a spot. He goes from pole of the B main to pole of the feature, and then goes and runs away with it, and gets himself locked in Saturday night, which is good. But what a change of luck for him.
I mean, what a format. The fact that you went one spot in your heat cost you 24
spots. Yeah. It's wild. But Brad Sweet's another one. He had to go through the B main on Saturday night. Got there. Got in there, finishes 19th, but he's usually a guy that we're figuring he's going to at least be up in the top 10. You know, he's had good speed this year, but I mean, he hasn't had the speed of the past couple years where he's like up front, top 2, 3 every single night, you know, especially when it comes to racing against this level of competition. But definitely expected him top 10, top 5, be in the mix a little bit. You know, he has to cut. And that's just also product of the format. It happens. Kyle Larson missed this thing completely a couple years ago. You know what I mean? And now he's just dominated and led 100 of 100 laps in the past 2. So that's just how it goes. You got to get a little bit of luck. One thing that really helped Larson out was he had a high pill draw and got to go out first in time trials and kind of set the tone.
It's interesting, Brad Sweet, like how consistent and what it's been for him on the high limit schedule. And then now he's the B main at Knoxville, finishes the back quarter.
Misses Kings Royal.
This is the Kings Royal, and it's just like it's so not like Brad Sweet, but I guess you'll have that. Yeah, and heartbreak for Rico and finishing 23rd there. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened to Rico.
We were too busy.
But he was starting up there. He was starting up in the top 5, I believe. Anthony Macri, though, has got to be the story for us here in PA. He was battling. He would look like maybe with like 10 to go, he could get a podium. He was battling with Corey Day. Carson Macedo, I believe, was behind them, but he was that was the best battle on the track besides Gio kind of catching Larson was Corey Day and Anthony Macri going back and forth. And Macri looked pretty good. And then once Corey Day got around him, Macedo got around Macri really, really late. But he still gets a top 5, looked good all week. Macri was second highest point total going into Thursday. So Wednesday night, he was the second highest point guy behind Gio Scelzi. So he was great. all week. It was good to see it. And obviously you had Pittman. And so here's the thing. We had this argument with some of our other buddies from outside of PA about Darren Pittman. Could we claim him this week as posse? And all of us are like, yeah, he's in the 69K. He ran so much time here in PA. All they could say is, oh, he's from Oklahoma. He was an outlaw. I mean, how could you not say he was posse this week? I don't get it.
Yeah, I would. The arguments wouldn't add up for me for this week. Just with his history in Central PA, the connections he's made, has come back and raced the National Open multiple years, and isn't it? It just, I don't know how you could say he isn't. I mean, what else? But if the argument is he's from Oklahoma, then don't flame me for this. I don't believe it. But then Greg Hodnett wasn't posse, right? He was born in Tennessee,
right?
So, I mean,
he did change his mailing address, though.
and to me, it doesn't matter where Darren Pittman was from necessarily. Right. It was a posse car, so we're gonna root for that car. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Brian Brown with a good Nationals P6. You know what I mean, for best local there. Tyler Courtney had another solid one too. Scott Boguski, very shocking for me at least. I mean, I knew he's pretty good. I kind of figured, he had a good shot at making the feature, but I didn't expect a top 10 out of him, finishing 8th and locked in on the prelim nights. He didn't have to go to Hard Knocks or B Main or anything. He locked right in. Sheldon Hodenshield had a solid Nationals. Jacob Allen, this is something Randy Kopp said. He had a good Knoxville. He's getting better and better every year. It was P10. Darren Pittman, like we said, good Nationals. David Gravel gets up to 12th. Donnie Schatz, 13th. Logan Schuart, and all right, Knoxville, 14th. Brady Bacon, locked in. Good job, 15th. Justin Peck, a solid Nationals with 16th. McFadden, Baylog, Sweet. Emerson Axum, I think he was probably out of these 24 cars my biggest surprise.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. I don't know if I was necessarily shocked, but he definitely exceeded my expectations a little bit. I expected him to be fighting. He's been getting better and better in that 410 every time he comes out. And, it's just he ran well in the 360 Nationals, and I kind of figured he would be, kind of in the mix to make the feature. But he did really well. He locked in on Friday night. Brett Marks, 21st. Chase Randall, Rico Abreu, and Justin Henderson rounded out the rest of the field. Brad Weatherby says, praise for McKenna Hasse. Yeah, that was a scary one. That was Friday night. Had a pretty gnarly wreck in the early, gets into the hops over Terry McCarl's right rear and goes for a wild ride. And as she comes down, the wings off and basically landed right on the top of the frame. I think that's what ended up doing some of the damage. It was pretty hard, though. Ended up having to spend at least a night in the hospital. She's home now, though, so it sounds like getting better on the way now. Mandy says, good top 5 for Macri. Good to see a PA guy doing good there, and the 69K looked pretty good all week. Mandy also says 69K is and always will be a posse car. Steph says, woohoo, bacon. As Brad also agrees. This was Brady Bacon first time to make the A main, and then Marie Bacon is a true wheelman. Yeah, I mean it. Some people that say it would be nice to see Brady Bacon in a wing car a little bit more, and this is kind of if he did, I mean, hey, 15th in the Knoxville Nationals. I can't remember what the payday was, but I mean, you get at least 15,000 to start, right? So. I mean, he probably made more running 15th in the Knoxville Nationals than he did probably in a month at USAC. Arguably. I don't know. to be fair. I don't know. I mean, just kind of wild. But yeah, Brock Zierfoss was the first one not to make the feature. Kind of bummed out for him, but he looked pretty good all week. Finished top 10 in his prelim, showed some better speed than he's been showing, but he was the first odd man out this year at Knoxville. Final thoughts from Knoxville.
You always find a way to get Brock into the conversation.
I have to. I mean, he looked good. I mean, I was happy for him. You know, he timed well, did decent in his heat race, and just just misses it by one. Locked into the B main, didn't have to go through C main, didn't have to go through hard knocks. So better than he's been the past few years there.
That's all my thoughts on it, though. I mean, congratulations, Kyle Larson. He's still the greatest driver we have in America right now. So.
Kyle Larson's to go. It's just
Kyle Larson's to go. It's just.
Well, let's take a look at this upcoming week then. Here locally, Williams Grove, we got 410s and 358s as a Yellow Breeches race on Friday night. Saturday, you have Lincoln with 410s and 358s back in action. Port Royal, the Dream Race, one of the coolest races of the year there. Twin 25 lap features for the 410s. They're partnered with USAC East Coast this year. Pretty cool as support. So that should be, hopefully the weather holds up, because I think if that does hold up, that's probably where I'll end up being. And then Selinsgrove on Sunday, 410s, 305s, and Wingless Sportsman on Sunday. You also have Kutztown on Sunday has USAC East Coast. And then BAPS on Saturday has limited late models. They have double Wingless Sportsman features because of the rain out from June 22nd. Double 602 mod features, June 22nd makeup as well, and classic cars. So you get 6 features for the price of one normal night there at BAPS, if you're in the area. But what are you guys looking forward to the most this weekend here? Granted, the weather stays good and we can get all of these in.
I more than likely will not be watching any of these races.
Well, okay.
I love the Dream Race. I love the Dream Race. It's one I usually like to get to. It doesn't work out this year. I think Selinsgrove, I look forward to hearing about that event from you. Our buddy Brett Perigo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Brett's trying to do what I did with them last year, because they're going out to, their plan is to go out to Springfield for the 100 lapper out there on the mile for Silver Crown with his dad, and then try to make it back for Sunday for Selinsgrove. Last year it was the All-Star race on Sunday. This year it's a 410 305 Wingless Sportsman race, so he's going to try to run his Wingless Sportsman on Sunday if he can get back in time, which will be, hey, I proved last year it can be done. So
I mean, it's a good weekend. This would be the first weekend we're back. We got a little bit of a break, and then we start building towards Tuscarora 50. It also means we're building towards the end of the year, which is unfortunate, but we're building to that big month of money here. Do you know who they're honoring for the Dream Race this year? Did they announce that?
I don't know. I did not see anything. I'd have to look more, but
Yeah,
I didn't see anything on who, because usually it's like in honor of somebody.
Right.
I know, like it was Mike Wagner one year and stuff like that. So I'm not
really
sure.
Cool.
It used to be the Living Legends Dream Race. I think it is.
I think it's still
Living Legends Dream Race, but
410s, 58 Winners Go Friday's always a good one. There's a chance I'm there. I don't know. It's just a good week. Get back to the racetrack.
Yeah. Steph says, I'm looking forward to any race since we don't know if Justin is off work yet. So if we make it to any race, I'll be happy. Is it the Ish Brothers tribute race at Williams Grove Friday? I don't think so. I thought it was Seaford Concrete Night, and it was Yellow Breeches 500. I want to say that race is next week. I'd have to look at their...
Right.
Let me take a look at their schedule right now. Give me a second. Ish Brothers tribute race is August 30th. So this week they have, it's $20. Seaford Concrete EMMR night. 410s, 358s. Next week is the Jacka Memorial, 8,000 to win. You have 410s and winged and wingless sportsmen, and then after that is the East tribute race.
Hasn't said who they're honoring.
Port Royal? Yeah, I'm not sure.
18th annual though. So that's fun.
Steph says, I really want to go to Port, miss that track. They have a lot of good races coming up. Obviously, you have this dream race. And then you got Tusky, you got Labor Day Classic, all that coming up. Somebody, I think you said it this past week, and you're like, oh, yeah, 3 weeks. I'm like, no, it's not. And actually, yeah, it is. It's like 3 weeks from now until Labor Day. And
they haven't said it yet, but usually Labor Day, it's $5 general field admission, right?
Yeah.
Has been the last couple of years. So it'd be cool if they do that again. I'm excited for Tuscarora 50.
And then, I'm looking forward, obviously, to Sealands Grove on Sunday. Always like getting back there, seeing the Wingless Sportsman. I know Brett's hyped for it because he only got like hot laps last year, and he was pretty fast and enjoyed it. And hopefully we can get this in. And then, obviously, 305. So I'm hoping it's a good turnout. Hopefully they get full fields for all of them. I know Sunday's tough, but I'm turning. Jeez, I got to turn you down a little bit. Just hopefully weather holds up. Also, High Limit, they go out to California, start their California swing. Thursday, they're at Thunderbolt Raceway. Friday, they're at Kings Speedway. And then Saturday, they're at Placerville. And then World of Outlaws have Jackson Nationals up in Minnesota this week. So lots and lots of racing. We're ramping up. Those High Limit and Outlaws, they're going to go north and west for the next couple of weeks. And the next time we'll see any of those guys, probably back towards the East Coast, will be High Limit for Tusky. So you're going to have a lot of 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight feature times.
Start times.
Start times, yeah. If you're watching on Dirt Vision or Flow Racing. What are you guys looking forward to this weekend, guys? Put it in the chat. What do you guys? Chris Noel says, "What do you guys think about Silver Crown at Jennerstown Speedway?" I only got to see a couple highlights from it, but it's pretty cool that they were on an asphalt track here in PA. If it wasn't for Clinton County and everything else going on this past weekend, I probably would have went. But pretty cool that they're on an asphalt track, so close to. I mean, they're half hour away from Bedford or so it's not too far. Lots of big races coming up. Very exciting time to be a sprint car fan. That's really it for this week. In terms of, obviously it's going to start ramping up here again. We want to thank Garrett Bard, obviously, for joining us and congratulations on another win. Before we get going, drink it or dump it. Drink it to somebody that you want to give a cheers to, had a very good weekend, and somebody who you want to dump one out for, had a bad weekend, feel bad for. Put them in the chat. I'll go first. I'm going to drink it to Anthony Macri. Top 5. Getting better and better there every time he goes out to Knoxville. One of the best posse runs in recent memory. Brett Marks has been up there, but other than that, there hasn't been too many, maybe since like Hodnet, that has really run well at Knoxville. So good for him. Dave Scott Smelter says Austin Reed won at Bedford last night. So cheers to him. And then dump it to, I had this one and now I have lost it. I'll go Billy Dietrich and Chris Frank. Tough nights at Clinton County after it looked like it was going to be pretty good night for both of those guys. I know they like it up there. Chris, Jay-Z?
Drinking it for Austin Dillon, making that NASCAR race exciting last night. Pure chaos here for that. Took my dump in, but actually going to go with the gentleman that was on the ATV that was hurt. Trying to get his name. Rolled the ATV at Clinton County. Broken pelvis, what they released from the track. That's not worse, but scary stuff there. One of the push vehicle ATVs at Clinton County tipped over, and
that was
that
tough.
situation.
Yeah, that was a scary situation there.
Mitchell,
I'll drink it to you guys. Softball tournament. You all participated. You got your participation trophies for being there. Not a lot of effort or talent, but hey, we were there. T2T represented something.
They did not give us a trophy, by the way.
we were there. I was obviously not able to make it with my anniversary. Looking forward to that next year. But dump it to you guys for being out there. Look at that. Look at that group of lovable losers. I mean, man, no,
Dog really.
great humans. Glad we were able to do it again. Support that that cause and up in Drums, PA, I believe. So drink to that, and dump it to McKenna Hassey for sure. Hopefully she's on the road to recovery. She is better for our sport. She's better being a part of the sport. So hopefully that she gets back up on her feet pretty quickly.
That's what was my original drink it and dump it was going to be. Now that I'm thinking of it, drink it to the whole tournament. Baseball for Bravery. It's supposed to be Saturday. Obviously, with all the rain, the fields were kind of wet. They didn't want us tearing them up, so it kind of screwed the schedule up because we had a lot of people coming from way out of town to come in to play. So a lot of people couldn't make it. We probably lost. I think we lost like 6 or 7 people. Got to thank my girlfriend Kim for jumping in, helping us fill out a full roster, and everybody else that came out here and supported it. And hopefully next year it doesn't get rained out and we have our full squad. We got our absolute asses handed to us. The first game we had to get mercy rule it. Now, granted, the last time any of us have done any athletic activity probably that's on this field here. I mean, besides maybe my Kyle there all the way to the left. He plays disc golf and stuff. He's pretty in shape.
Andy plays football.
Andy plays football.
And
I guess so.
And I foot race people at Williams Grove.
Listen, I've watched Andy play football. All-star tight end and everything. Washed. No, I'm kidding. Andy is too. But the rest of us, I mean, we probably haven't done anything at athletics since this tournament last year. And none of us have played any baseball, picked up a bat, threw a baseball, put on a glove or anything since this tournament last year. And then we go for the second year in a row, and our first game is against the tournament champion, who are all guys that play a lot and they coach baseball and they played a lot of different tournaments. So we got absolutely destroyed, but we still had fun. Yes, even the dog has more athletic skills. Look at how cool he is. That's my dog, Murphy. Look at him with the shades on, just chilling. He was our cool mascot. He was giving us some pep talks, trying to tell us to play better in the dugout.
I think he was crying watching.
Yes, he was crying because of how awful it was, not because he missed us and we were far away from him. He was crying because of how awful we were.
To be fair, half the team, not even half the team, has played their 5th career games this weekend in their life. I don't even own a glove, but I can catch a ball. That's about it. That's all I can do.
I did get one hit in that game that we got blown out 16-0. So I'm going to pat myself on the back, a little bit there.
Maybe.
Broke up the no-no. But it was just a great time overall. Thanks to everybody that runs the Baseball for Bravery tournament every year. We look forward to trying to get back there next year, hopefully with more people and everything. So, great time. Thanks everybody for coming out there.
If you want to know why Kim doesn't look like us, it's because she's not like us.
Let's get to a couple more fan drink it and dump it before we leave here. Santos says, drink it to the Stamen 23 being back on track this weekend. Port to McKenna Hassey's wreck, definitely a scary one. Brad goes, drink it to Macri, dump it to Hassey. Drink it to Garrett, dump it to Billy, says Randy Kopp. Mandy says, drink it to Larson, obviously, and Garrett Bard, dump it to McKenna for getting that nasty wreck. Marie says, drink it to Jacob Allen. And Christopher Knoll says, drink it to NASCAR trying the option tires. I agree. That was pretty cool. Dump it to McKenna. And number 3 of Austin Dillon, reckon Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. I don't know. You have people on both sides of the coins there. You have people that love it and people that hate it. It was definitely made that race interesting. Mandy also says, dump it to the rain, causing a lot of races to be canceled. Brad says, I could have played. You would have been faster than Chris, that's for sure.
Oh, get wrecked.
We got skunked 16-0. But like I said, it was back-to-back years that these guys were champions. They did the same thing to us last year, first game. You have guys who haven't played against guys that play all the time. The second game we lost 3-2. It was a dog fight. with a bunch of teenage kids that absolutely lit us up. They just were faster and had more energy than us. We were dying by the end of that game, I think.
We did not have a lot of morale. We had no
I don't know about
Jay-Z.
that. We're trying. We started off that game good. We scored 2 runs in the first inning. It got off to a good start. And
We didn't have Jay-Z there to put the fear of God into us, so we just really were kind of like, yeah.
I don't know why Owen Lipinski keeps putting M in there, but drink it to M, dump it to M.
He's good at it. He's got it
really
figured out. He's got the M figured out.
He knows where that M key is.
We love you,
Devin.
Owen. Great job.
Is Devin back this week?
He is.
He is?
Yes.
Okay.
Santos mentioned earlier he is scheduled to be back.
Cool. That's good to see. Good to hear. Hopefully everything's good there. And as always, drink it to you guys. Thanks everybody so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week to recap their week in racing, and we'll see if we can get somebody else on the pod. Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.